Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show with no name as we talk about the Galactic Starcruiser,
Bruno.
the thing that has taken over the internet at 9 a.m. Pacific time today. We will do our part in our little corner of YouTube. So we are here with Mike Celestino, who had the opportunity to do the 4-hour Galactic Starcruiser experience. We're going to talk about that for about the next hour. But
how much
we want
does
to tell
the
you
4-hour version cost?
Yeah, so I'll let you know. We are going to get some initial impressions from Mike, which is pretty much spoiler free, and then after that, there will be some spoilers. I think Mike prefers not to give full spoilers, but certainly if you want to go in blind, if you've got your Galactic Starcruiser booked or thinking about it, you want to stay around. But let's just do completely spoiler free.
Okay.
Talk about, as we said, there's the full 2-night experience. That's what you're paying for. Mike Celestino had a 4-hour condensed highlight experience. So give your impressions of the Galactic Starcruiser, Mike.
I keep describing it as very similar to a thing that I like to do at Knott's Berry Farm called Ghost Town Alive, which I know both of these things kind of had the germ of the idea came from the same place and probably the same person. So I think they kind of branched off in those different directions. But this is like Ghost Town Alive, which is like an immersive Wild West theme park experience where you can interact with the characters and there's like a story that plays out over the whole day. But this is that in Star Wars, and instead of a day, it's like 2.5 days. Yeah, we didn't get they didn't give us the full experience as our media preview. We got, like you said, the condensed highlight reel, they called it, which had a lot of the big story beats, but cut out all the stuff in the middle, which is it might actually be, I am coming back to do it again. And that stuff might interest me actually more than the stuff that I saw, and I really enjoyed what I saw too.
So wonderful. So Mike is going to be going back in just a few weeks to give the full experience, and he'll have a much more detailed report at that time. Okay, so we're going to allow Mike to talk in more detail now. Mike, being the wonderful fanboy he is not going to give full spoilers on the story or anything, but like we said, if you want to go in completely blind, close your eyes now, and more importantly, your ears. So take us, you did this, I haven't. How do you want to start this? Where do you want to go?
Well, just start at the beginning, the entrance. I put up a video of just walking in the entrance and what that's like, because the bus pulls around behind Disney's Hollywood Studios and you see the back of Galaxy's Edge, and then you see the actual show building of Galactic Starcruiser, which I was surprised by. I thought they would hide it behind some trees or something. Not working?
We're good. I'm working on it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Yeah, and then you pull up and you have that entrance that everybody's seen the concept art for, and everybody has been posting their photos in front of the sign. And then this is what you see after you walk in through there, this long hallway, kind of nondescript hallway, and you get to the end and there's the logo of the Chandrila Star Line, which is the fictional cruise ship company that you're traveling aboard, this ship called the Halcyon in the Star Wars universe. So this is a little different from what guests will experience, because that TV on the wall there is going to show like a safety video, but they didn't give us that. They just kind of gave us like a pep talk about what our experience was going to be and how that was going to be different from the average guest. And then this is called the launch pod. So this is the next thing you step into. And this is kind of the transition between the real world and the Halcyon. So you get in this, it's pretty much just an elevator, but they have it decorated like it's a transport pod, and it works kind of like a simulator in that the movement of the elevator is sort of synced with your launch up into space. It doesn't work as well as like, Star Tours or even like the Resistance shuttle in Rise of the Resistance. It's basically just an elevator.
But there are plenty of places during the experience where you want to kind of suspend disbelief, and the more you let yourself go, probably the more you enjoy it. Okay, so this is how you get from. Do you start on Earth?
No, you are starting on the planet Chandrila, which is the home planet of Mon Mothma, the leader of the Rebel Alliance, and the namesake of the Chandrila Star Line, which is the cruise line that you're traveling aboard.
And then you take this up to the Starcruiser, and I want to kind of. I like the way you end this video with entering the new world.
I gotta watch Tim Tracker's videos when he puts them up, because I hope I'm in his as much as he's in mine.
I did notice that. Okay, and just a reminder, everyone. So Mike has not slept the night. He spent all night putting up about 15 videos from his experience there. So please check those out on Laughing Place. So Mike's endeavor is worthwhile. So what do you want to go next?
The tour of the Atrium would be next.
Okay.
And this is like, as soon as you step out of that elevator, the launch pod, this is the first thing you see coming out of there. Now, this is I kind of marked it that it's the official Disney video, but it's like, this is the first thing you see coming out of that elevator, the big atrium area. And there is this droid roaming around whose name I forgot. It's a combination of letters and numbers, as it usually is. But then here's my video, okay, to compare. But it does look, really nice. It's bright and shiny. And they've explained that in the story by saying that they've restored this ship to its original form as it was, I think, 275 years earlier in the story, because the ship is centuries old. And there's a model of the Halcyon right there. So that's the ship that you're aboard. You can, I was told that you can pinpoint your room. If you have a cabin on the ship, you can find which cabin you are in the model there. And then there's just like aliens hanging around. This is a Rhodian lady who turns out to be one of the band members later on in the concert.
And she speaks, right?
Yes. I talked to her. She spoke to me in Huttese, which I don't personally speak. But it was fun that her mouth does move and she talks.
And I've read her eyes. Her eyes also kind of changed. So yeah, pretty cool character. Are there other alien characters here?
Yes. So pretty much there's a main human character, but pretty much all the main characters are aliens other than that on the Resistance side. Like the ship captain is a Pantoran, and then the singer is a Twi'lek, and I think there's one or two others roaming around. The guitar player is like a Murielin, I think.
But everyone you encounter, not just the aliens or the main people, but like the lady you just passed right there.
Yeah.
She is in character too. She has a story. You can talk to her about her life.
Theoretically, yes, they told us that, but I believe that's on the same level as like the average cast member working in Galaxy's Edge, who were instructed to not instructed, but I think wanted to come up with their own backstory and stuff. So okay. I think I briefly asked one of my servers in the dining room how they liked working aboard the Halcyon, and they told me a little bit about that. So yeah, you can have those kind of conversations with the staff. This is the Sublight Lounge. This is the kind of the little bar where you can play Hollow Sabacc and get a drink here. And there's some crazy space fish in those tanks.
And I know I've read, been immersing myself since 6 a.m. this morning, that you could like ask the bartender about the fish and they'll have, in character answers for you. So,
okay.
It's good to know.
Really, I did not get to spend much time in here, which was my big regret. Fortunately, I'm going back, so I'll try to hang out in here and play Sabacc, because that was one of the things that really appealed to me. But there was so much else going on our very compressed tour that I did not get to hang out in here.
I'm sure we'll do another one of these after you've had the full experience and have more questions. What are they playing here?
It's Hollow Sabacc, so basically Sabacc, the card game, but a holographic version of it.
All right, and then so ultimately though, there's the muster drill, right? And what happens there?
So I actually had never I didn't know what the word muster meant until I went on a real cruise a couple years ago, the Disney Cruise Line. But it's kind of a similar thing where they'll gather everybody in the atrium and the captain comes out and talks to everybody. But this, in this experience, they kind of use it as an excuse to launch the overarching story that happens. So, I mean, I don't know. Again, you said not to spoil anything, so
Well,
I won't say
you can spoil as much or as little as you want. I heard your podcast on this. Who's the boss? You spoil just the right amount, so don't be too hesitant.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret if you've seen a poster. It's no secret that like the First Order gets involved. So that kicks it off right here at the beginning, where the First Order shows up, and that becomes the main thrust of the narrative of the show.
And maybe you can just talk a little bit about that. So the experience, the 2-day experience, is not just talk to this person, play this game. There is an overarching story for the entire experience, right?
That's why I keep comparing it to Ghost Town Alive, because that's exactly how that story works. You'll get there in the morning at Knott's Berry Farm. You'll meet all the characters, and then there'll be a big story moment that involves everybody. And then all the characters will go off and do all their own little things. You can go and interact with them and meet them and hang out with them and talk them up or whatever. And then another big story beat happens. And that seems like pretty much the same way that this functions. But in our 4-hour version, all those big story moments got compressed into that chunk of time instead of spread out over the 45 hours or whatever it is. Yeah.
And the people involved in the big story, like the captain there, you'll still see her roaming around the ship and be able to talk to her and whatever during a normal cruise, right?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much all the characters are available to interact with between the story beats.
And then you can talk to them about the story, or somehow that even plays into the story. I mean, it's very, very immersive and intricate and interesting, and all the I words I can think of.
Yeah. Kyle mentioned Legends of Frontierland, which was a thing they did at Disneyland, and I'm my understanding of that is that it was created by this guy Ken Parks, who was a Imagineer at Disney, and he was developing that as a kind of a play test for something to do with Galaxy's Edge, or maybe for this Galactic Starcruiser, but they didn't use his idea, or I don't know. I mean, I guess when you create something for Imagineering, Disney owns it, so it's probably not like a legal issue or anything. But anyway, he went over to Knott's Berry Farm and created Ghost Town Alive. So yeah, this is what I meant. Like they all kind of came from the same place, and I love them all. So I'm glad that there's more stuff like this happening.
So obviously you only did it for 4 hours, but you are essentially in this hotel for the entire time, other than your excursion to Batuu, should you choose to do that. The windows are not real because you're not seeing the real world. Did you find it claustrophobic at all, or did you get that sense at all?
I feel like we didn't have time to feel much of anything because they just kept rushing us from one thing to another, it was fine. It was very fun. I mean, even, because you know what it's like at a media event where I had my camera in front of me, my phone like this the whole time. I couldn't really absorb it and appreciate it for myself. It was mostly like, where do I point my camera, basically? But it was still very fun, and still the time just like flew by. I wasn't ever really thinking about not being able to see the outside world, but there is that climate simulator as well, where you do get to step out into the open air. It's supposed to be like a simulation of what the weather is like on Batuu at that moment.
One of the things that they've kind of hyped up throughout this, and I know you got to experience with the lightsaber training. Want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So this is probably one of the more like tactile, interactive activities that you would do. So they give you these kind of training lightsabers, and there's these little sensors on the wall there that shoot out a beam that tells you where the blaster is going to fire, and you're supposed to put the lightsaber blade there to block it. And I thought that would be it, based on the art we had seen and the videos we had seen, I thought that was the whole thing, what you just saw there. But the cool thing about it is they keep adding like complexity to it. Like, you think all the people waiting in line have nothing to do, but they actually end up giving you shields. There you go. There's the shield. So the people waiting behind the people who have the lightsabers have shields in case the person with the lightsaber misses the blaster bolt. You can be the one to deflect it with the shield, and it keeps track of your, how many you missed or whatever. And then in the end, they take away that guide beam, and you kind of have to use the Force, but instead of, it's not really the Force, obviously. It's like this little like twinkling lights that appear on the wall. Which is pretty neat, cool effect. Yeah. But yeah, I would say that the lightsaber thing was more fun than I thought it was going to be based on what I had seen, but it goes on for a little too long. Like, I thought it was like 10 minutes too long. It was probably like 40 minutes or something. And it could have been like 20 to 30 minutes and it would have been fine.
One of the things I read about this is, and again, you talk about the characters, and it really feels like the characters are the heart of the Galactic Starcruiser. Yes. Your trainer here is what really brought it alive for you. Did you get to experience that?
Absolutely. Yeah, he was every actor playing these roles was amazing, and they really committed 100%. And I've said this to a few people now, but we had the 4-hour condensed version, and by the end of those 4 hours, I felt like an emotional connection to these characters, and I was thinking like, oh, it must be that much more over the 2 days. By the time you get to the end there, you must really feel, because there's a really great character payoff, or several great character payoffs at the end that must be so much more effective if you're doing the full 2-day experience.
But even in your condensed experience, you were able to get that connection. So
yes,
just imagine what it's like. You also did the bridge training.
Yeah, this is another thing where like it was fun for a bit, and then it felt like it went a little too long, I think. And I do think every time I say that about something, it's probably going to appeal to children more than it does to adult fans. So the bridge training is, there's like 4 different stations you can be at that does something different for the ship. And basically you have to, what I did like about it is that nobody really explains what you have to do step by step. You kind of have to figure it out intuitively. So that there's kind of a little bit of a puzzle aspect to it in that way. But once you figure it out and you start just like repeating the pattern, or, it's different puzzles using the same strategy or whatever, it starts to feel a little bit repetitive. But there are great moments in the bridge training as well. Like, I feel like once it's probably like 30 people in that room together, all like trying to accomplish the same goal. And there's a couple of moments where you're all working to like blow something up together or whatever. And when you do succeed, everybody like erupts in applause and cheering. And you really like feel like you're part of this group, making this concerted effort to accomplish something. I don't know, this something really fun about that.
And it looks like here, as we get to the end of your video, the story again comes into here. If
yes,
I'm interpreting this correct.
That's pretty much cool. I would say, okay, like the lightsaber training didn't really have a story beat in it, but most other stuff that you go and do, even if it just says like bridge training on your schedule, you probably want to go, because in all likelihood, there's going to be some kind of story beat that happens within that exercise.
Listening to your Who's the Boss podcast again, that's now available, where Mike discusses this. Who was your partner on that one?
Joey from mouseinfo.com.
Yeah, and they do about an hour-long discussion as well about their experience. And he mentioned the teamwork aspect. That's something I never even considered when thinking about the Galactic Starcruiser, but you just mentioned it, the teamwork, and you get to accomplish these things with these strangers and make a connection there too. And that seems kind of fun.
Yeah, that happened to me a couple times, like having to team up with complete strangers and laughing, and that character that walked by the camera there. His name is Sammy. He's a mechanic. And he ended up being one of my favorite characters, like really, really memorable. And the performer is so personable and like charismatic. So you can see him interacting with the guests there. This is jumping into hyperspace. Oh,
too soon. Bring it back. Hit rewind. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And that's actually how the muster drill ends, right? You go into the bridge room and then do the big group jump into hyperspace, which is really cool. And I heard the cheers there as you guys went into hyperspace. And it was, yay! That was cool. One thing I noticed in the muster drill, which really made me happy, and you tell me if it carried through, there wasn't any tongue-in-cheekness to it, like, yeah, we're in on the joke. It was as if this is all real.
Yes, I would say that is accurate. It's not played for laughs almost at all. I mean, there's humor in it, but the humor comes organically, which is always what I prefer.
Yeah, if I had done this and there was this kind of tongue-in-cheekiness that, yeah, we know this is a guy in a suit or something, I would be bad. So I was very happy to see that was not the case. Where do you want to go next? You want to talk food?
I do want to say about the food. You know that I have food allergies. I have celiac disease. I can't eat gluten. And Disney has always been really good about that. When I did the Disney cruise a couple years ago, they like bent over backwards for me. But the same is absolutely true here. In fact, I asked the chef about it, and he told me that that they can accommodate pretty much any dietary restriction aboard the Galactic Starcruiser. So if you have a concern about that, just let them know when you book your trip. They'll have that ready for you. They had it. They were like, they came up to my table. They were like, who had the gluten allergy? I didn't even remember telling them for this media trip, but they knew. So
yeah, you didn't tell them. They used the Force.
Yeah.
But it's meant to be a cruise ship. It's meant to be self-contained. So just like on a cruise ship, they have to accommodate everybody because you're not going to go get in a car and drive across the Pacific Ocean to grab some McDonald's. So although I did learn that you are not captive, if you want to walk out the front door and get an Uber and go to McDonald's, you're welcome to do so. But obviously that's not why you paid $2,500 to.
Yeah, I that was one of the early questions that I had, but I keep forgetting to ask. Like I had access to everybody who created this thing this week, and I didn't ask that of anyone. I feel like I forgot that question.
Well, someone else did. I was reading our friends Attractions Magazine's review this morning. They did do the 2-day stay, and yes, you can leave. You can go out front and smoke. If you want to smoke, that's where the smoking takes place. You just have to go back down the shuttle, back down to the other planet, whose name I forgot. You can smoke there. You can get a ride to go to McDonald's or whatever.
I mean, it seems pretty obvious when you think about it. It's like they can't hold you. They can't hold you hostage. But it also seems odd that anyone would ever want. I mean, if you've paid that much money, you would want to like preserve the illusion.
You didn't read the waiver that carefully, Mike. They can and they will hold you hostage. All right. So I've only seen a couple of your videos because this all dropped at 6. I did sleep last night, but I did make sure to watch what to me, I so hope they just make this a separate high-end experience, but not as high-end as $2,500 because let me shut up so I can find it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to guess which one
it is. Find it at the same time, but I am failing miserably. All right. Talk to me about the performer.
Which one?
At dinner.
Oh, Gaia.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I was saying to Rebecca or somebody last night that I went into this. I think it was Benji, actually. Benji or Rebecca. I was on the phone with them. But I had seen images of Gaia singing in the dining room, and I think I saw a little video leaked out or whatever. But I never imagined that I would be as into that as I was. And she ended up being one of my absolute favorite parts, to the point where I like wanted to own Gaia merchandise, like a Gaia t-shirt and a Gaia album. It's just so entertaining. She's a great singer. She's like really singing live. And the Rhodian there is her backup singer, and there's a guitarist. They don't call it a guitar. It's some kind of weird space guitar, but just such a fun show and really like brought down the house. And there's the first song is really energetic, and then they close it on a big like dance along type like line dancing type thing, which is really amusing and gets everybody up on their feet too. So,
and her voice was great, and she walks all around, and then just to look on the stage and see there's the roadie in there, and the guitar, it blew me away. I really want to do this dining experience. Come on, Disney. Why do you not want my $300? I will pay it. I will spend a couple hours there. You can have it. It's so awesome. And then I heard, I think you guys mentioned on Who's the Boss she also does an acoustic set somewhere.
We didn't get to see that part because that was part of what they cut out for our version of it. But I did hear that.
Yeah, and she performs both nights of the show. So I don't know. This amazed me. I should have been watching a lot more videos to prep for this over the past hour, and I just got stuck watching this because it was so cool.
Yeah, it's like a nice long show. It's like a 20-minute show. So yeah, I totally get that.
With amazing food and the cool drinks. Did you have a Hoth icebreaker?
Yeah, I had the Hoth icebreaker, which was really good, and I had the non-alcoholic one that they gave us was the sour or something or other. And that was good too.
That's worth mentioning. So just like a real cruise, all the food is included. Non-alcoholic drinks are included. The gratuities are included. So, yes, it's expensive, but you've paid for it. Your trip to Batuu is included in the day. You don't have to stay in Batuu, by the way. You can explore the rest of Hollywood Studios while you're there. So all of that stuff's included. You really can pay $2,500 and go on and off, except you're going to spend another $2,500 on the ship exclusive merchandise, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh, to touch briefly on the merchandise. Yeah, I bought a sabacc deck. You heard me talk about this on the podcast, but they had a sabacc deck when Solo: A Star Wars Story came out. I always wanted to play sabacc, so that was the first time they ever made one you could buy in a store. But then when Galaxy's Edge opened up, they had a Batuu exclusive sabacc deck, and I bought that as well. And now there's a Galactic Starcruiser version of the sabacc deck, and I was like, I have to get this one too. And then there's also a set of chips, like gambling chips for the sabacc deck. It's a separate purchase.
All right, so finally Disney is getting into the casino market. It's about time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good question. Do you know if the special hilt that they sell can be used to build a full saber at Savi's?
Ooh. Oh, you know what? There's information about that in this video that you're watching right now. I don't remember what she said. There's like interchangeable parts like you would get on a Savi's lightsaber, but can you use those parts to actually build a Savi's lightsaber? I don't know.
You're going to have to go back and find out, Mike.
Yeah, I will have to go and ask that.
Cool. All right. So what else would you like to discuss, Mike? We've got tons of videos, or you can just go.
I think, a big deal has been made about the marketing for this thing and how I think people don't really know what it is or why they should pay this much money to go and do this. And I think Disney has succeeded in creating this pretty impressive immersive experience, but maybe failed at getting the word out via their ads. But I think that's part of the reason why they invited all this media to experience it for free in various ways, because it becomes our job then to get the word out. And maybe that's not the best way for them to go about it, but like I do think once people get in there and start going through this experience, that the word is going to spread. I do think there's going to be positive word of mouth. I think I can just picture families doing this. We didn't have any kids really, not that many kids in our group, but I can just see families going to this and having a blast, especially if they're really into Star Wars. So, and I had a great time as an adult. Like I said, I'm going back in a few weeks. We have some fun stuff planned for that experience too. So, the thing about it that appeals to me is the story and the characters, but there's, I think, probably there's a lot of stuff going on that's not that will appeal to different levels of interest, whether you want to drink or whether you want to just, solve puzzles or whatever you want to do. I think if you're an immersive theater fan, if you're a Star Wars fan, maybe it's worth the money to you, but you'll have to decide that for yourself.
You did, speaking of the money, so it's for a party of 2, I believe it's $2,500 per person. Goes down a little currently, and obviously, season and all that can change. But if you want to book it right now, and it goes down a little bit if you get a room up to 4. There are even Facebook groups where people are trying to find other people who want to go so they can share a room and bring the price down. You mentioned an interesting story about your friends over at Skywalking Through Neverland and their impressions. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so they're a pretty popular Star Wars podcast, Skywalking Through Neverland. They're Disney and Star Wars, so kind of like what I do. But they said that they were not planning to go to Galactic Starcruiser at all because it was out of their price range. But they did get invited to this past week's media preview. They did the 2-night thing that we didn't get to do. And they said that when they walked out of that, they started thinking about saving up to go back. That they enjoyed it that much, they didn't want to leave the ship. And they're very enthusiastic Star Wars fans, and I'm glad that this is something that pleases those people who are very who I consider a very positive force in the Star Wars fan community.
I mean, to me, that is the ultimate compliment. You got a free trip. You had no intention of ever paying for it because it's too expensive. And as a result of your free trip where you got the whole experience, now you have to figure out how to pay to go back.
That's kind of the bottom line for me about this whole thing, because it's such a difficult thing to get across to people what it's all about without them actually experiencing it for themselves. But you don't want to pay thousands of dollars to go experience something that you don't know what it is. So it's like a catch-22 in a way. So yeah, it is odd that they had, to sell. It's almost like you had to have this like sample platter to get you hooked, and then you want to pay and come back and do it some more. But I think if people could grasp a little bit better what it's all about, or if they were able to do the marketing a little bit savvier and be able to get across what the concept is a little better than what they've shown so far, I think it might catch on.
Yeah, and it's a hard, I don't know how you market this in 2 minutes. To me, what sold me is just watching your Atrium video, from walking around, just mingling with people, to the muster starts, and then the story starts.
Yeah.
That's what sold me as, oh, that's what this is.
Yes.
And that worked for me.
But I mean, the thing is, like, I have experience with that kind of immersive theater, and even walking in there yesterday, I didn't know if that was what it was going to be. Right. And I kind of had the same realization that you did. I was like, okay, I know how this works because I've done stuff like this before, and I'm really into stuff like that. Because in the ads, I couldn't tell what they were, they're characters you could talk to or whatever, but is there going to be a story or whatever? So, I don't know. I hope that they figure out a way to,
or maybe they don't need to. I mean, there's only 100 rooms. They would do 2 cruises a week, word of mouth. Not everything has to be marketed like crazy.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. Somebody told me it's booked through September again now, so I don't know if that's accurate, but
it deserves it. I would, if I had it, and I might have it, I would want to do this with my son. I think we both get a huge kick out of this.
Yeah.
Some of the things, again, listening to your podcast, that I just wanted to specifically mention so you can talk about. You just talked about the emotions to the point in your 4-hour experience again.
Yeah.
To the point where you were near tears.
Yeah. And they're not, like I said in the podcast, they're not all big action moments or like characters I recognized or whatever. There's a couple moments that are like little quiet moments that I was like it just hit me, like I'm standing in this place that was built to fully immerse you in Star Wars, even more so than Galaxy's Edge, because you do have these actors playing the characters that you can interact with. And that was always kind of promised to be part of what Galaxy's Edge would be. And that never, or it hasn't really worked out that way yet. I kind of wish that it would, but so you got to pay the premium to get that experience. But yeah, those little moments added up to me and made it, in my eyes, made the experience worth experiencing. I'm sorry. Go and listen to that podcast episode because I recorded that last night. And this morning I am far more sleep deprived and not as good at talking.
The ultimate spoiler. So, I mean, tune out now if you don't want to be spoiled, but there is a finale to this story that they did show you guys, right? So you had your little 4-hour arc, and I'm just going to show that a little bit if you want to talk a little bit about what's happening and not only the visual, but maybe the emotions from it too.
Yeah, Matt Martin made a big, Matt Martin from Lucasfilm pointed out that canonically, this is actually the only time that Kylo Ren and Rey encounter each other physically, in the real world, because they have that like mental connection or whatever. But this is the only time their paths cross between episodes 8 and 9 in the current canon. So this is, I mean, you could see how, you can even just see there when I pan down a little bit how into this everybody was. There are some moments in this fight that when that thing falls down, there's some stuff coming up later too where you could feel the energy in the crowd. You could hear everybody like gasp and cheer. The choreography is really impressive, and just kind of had not that we were sitting, but everybody was on the edge of their seat.
Did she have the lightsaber that she came out with?
That was the extending blade lightsaber. I think I might have missed. Did I miss the?
No, you had it. You had it.
Okay,
you had it. It was cool. She stood there and it was.
Yeah. Yep.
This is so awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay. The last thing I wanted to mention, you said towards the end of your podcast, I'm living Star Wars. Your dream is coming true, Mike.
Well, I mean, we could probably say it here that we have some. Can we say it here? Should we talk about it here?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Nobody's watching. Is anybody watching? We have plans to.
You could say.
We have plans to kind of overcommit to this, or I do anyway. Because I talked to Matt Martin about this a little bit too, that they're encouraging people to create their own characters and really live out that Star Wars dream in their own way. So yeah, I've created a character that I'm gonna, I bought a costume, put together a costume, and I'm gonna go to this thing in a few weeks and try to commit to the character the whole time and see, just see how that goes. And I've come up with a reason why I'm going on this trip, and there's gonna be some other stuff coming out that ties in with that too. So I'm super excited to do that, and that's I think if that works out, I think if we can prove that works, it'll be like a kind of like a proof of concept of this whole immersive, multi-day immersive project. I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Don't do too good of a job. I do not want them to hire you on the spot. We need you here. But do get some sleep before you go.
If I get some sleep today.
So, sorry. Oh yeah. Okay, so I think that's all we wanted to cover. I'm looking forward to meeting this character. I'm hoping we get to meet him before he ventures off to the Halcyon. We'll see.
That seems likely.
Once again, Mike has an extensive article on Laughing Place. He's got the Who's the Boss link. The Who's the Boss podcast that's been released. He's got about 15 videos up on YouTube right now. And this is just from the 4-hour preview. So when you get back from your trip in a couple weeks, Mike, you will go 2 days without sleeping, and it's going to be incredible.
That's all Jeremiah. That time.
I'm looking forward to hearing more as you, because you're my favorite Star Wars guy. So I want your experience from this really, really bad. But right now, you've got a plane to catch. So we will let you get out of here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this for us. Thank you so much for enduring the experience. I'm sure that was very difficult for you. Please check out everything on Laughing Place. Make sure to like this stream if you did. Subscribe to our channel. Ring the bell to get notified when we go live, which we do awesome. awesomes, which we do often, and they're
often
awesome.
and awesome. Yeah.
And we will talk to you later, Mike. Thanks again.